aka B-Fon, aka Bobby Fon of the infamous Funk Family and Black Sperm, and I'm on the illest podcast, the Oddcast podcast, with my man Gary Gnu. Peace.
Nah, prior to that, we was me and YZ's brother Youngstar. We had a group called ESD, and when we started ESD, we would just go on to battle. We were just going to parties, like all through Jersey, and just going to parties and battling cats. And we was doing that for years before I even started doing anything in the studio.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I always wanted to know who was the ESD posse, man.
ESD posse was me, YZ's younger brother, Youngstar, this cat named Cool Chuck, and we had a beatbox named Fat Nate. Okay. And that was our squad. That was our squad when we was growing up, just around our little neighborhood. And then we just kind of turned it into a rap thing, like when we got in our teens. And then we just started battling. We would go to the mall. We would battle at the Quaker Bridge. We would go to like Jamesburg and Englishtown and all these little towns of Freehold and Battle Cats, and that's how we kind of got our little mark going. But when I was coming up, I was listening to a lot of rappers from Trenton, like Force was one of my favorite MCs. Almighty was one of my favorite MCs. Okay. Of course, Wise and Z was always on my top tier. But really, Force and Almighty, they were the two like cats that I could actually see. Like I would see them out, go to parties and see them rhyming. Yeah. That I wanted to mirror myself after. They was fly, they dressed fly, they had the jewels. They would, like those are the cats that kind of laid the pavement for me to really just be like, I could do that. You know what I mean? And that was when I was like 14, 15. And then once I started recording with Tone, I started taking it serious. And then, Z would start taking me more and more into the studio. And then I started actually giving him like verses out of my book just to put the certain songs. We would write songs together, and we started doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So what was your name at the time? You automatically was B-Fon, or?
It was B-Fon. Z gave me that name. I knew it was a cat from Full Force named B-Fon at the time, but I wasn't really sure how he spelt it or what it was. You know what I mean? Okay. But I knew there was another cat named B-Fon, but I knew he wasn't the MC. Okay. So one day we was out somewhere, and Z was like, "You should call yourself B-Fon." Because all the girls, you bow-legged, all the girls be, trying to holler at you. You should call yourself B-Fon. I was like, all right, I'll run with it. I'll run with it. So it just kind of stuck.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what's I always wondered that. Like, I wonder how you got that. So prior to that, you had no other MC name beside B-Fon.
When I was breaking, I was B-Ski.
Okay.
When I was breakdancing, I was B-Ski. That was, everybody had the ski in their name.
Yeah. Something to that
effect. When around that time too, I was also Bobby C. Like when I was in grammar school, when I first started rhyming,
Bobby C. Okay.
The C was for cool. I remember I did like a show at at the grammar school, like a talent show, and the principal was like, "What's the C stand for?" And I was like, "Cool," and everybody went crazy. And I thought that was the flyest shit I ever said in my life.
But you had it back then, though. You sound like you had that charisma and all that shit like already up in you. You know what I'm saying? Like you were bound to, did your mother or father come from a musical background, or what I'm saying? Who was?
Actually, no. Like my mom was more, office, she just did regular work. She was also an entrepreneur. When we got older, she started her own little businesses. That's where I got the entrepreneurial bug from. Okay. But my mom and my dad, I never knew him growing up. I only met him a couple times. Okay. And then, but I found out when I was older, when I was like 16, that he was actually a jazz saxophonist. So he played the sax, and then my sister was telling me, when I met her when she was older, she was like, I got tapes of our dad singing. He had a good voice. And then I started asking my mom. Mom was like, yeah, he could sing. He could sing really good. So I guess that's where I kind of get that from.
Yeah, because you definitely got songs where you got some melodies, where you get melodic.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm saying that's what's up, man. So so you went on, recording with Tone, recording with YZ. How did you put the Funk Family together? Was that your, no? You said the ESD was your first group. Then how did you transition into forming the Funk Family?
Well, I got lucky, and Z asked me to write a couple of joints for his first album, Sons of the Father.
That's right, man. Not to cut you off, but yeah, man, YZ credited you for helping him write In Control of Things, right?
No doubt. That was actually like a verse that I pulled out of my book, and then we just kind of touched up like the third verse. Same thing with Back Again. I wrote Back Again. And so that kind of gave me a little bit of the, let me start looking for a deal kind of thing, because people started asking about who's that cat on this song, and
Okay.
who wrote that, who wrote this. And I would do shows with Z. From the time I was like 14, 15, when I was in high school, I was doing shows on the weekend with Z. And then right around, we came to Houston in 91, like right after I graduated from high school. We came here on tour for about 4 months. So we did the whole Southwest. And before I came here, I was already working on the Funk Family stuff. I don't know how I even came up with the name Funk Family. I was thinking about that today just to get ready for the interview.
All right.
But I just think like we just vibing one day, like going in and out of the studio, because I started writing. I just started going to the studio a lot with Tone.
Okay.
And then and I was like, I gotta come up with a name. And I never wanted to be like a solo MC. I always wanted to be like with a group, even though I'm a solo MC. So back then, funk didn't mean like G-funk and none of that. Funk just mean like you was funky or you was dope, or you was fly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was always around my niggas who was like my family. So I was just like, Funk Family. You just kind of brought it together. But I don't know when I did that, what time period it was. I know we just kind of phased. Like when Z started doing his album, we was ESD. And then as soon as we came back from here off a tour, we was Funk Family. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know when I kind of transitioned into it, but it was somewhere in between, right before In Control of Things came out till we came off a tour in 91.
Okay. What kind of places were you going on tour? Was it like some
It was dope.
European tour?
That was my first. I was just here in the States. Our first stop was in Chicago. And it was crazy because we took the train. So the first stop we made was in Chicago. We was there for like a day.
For every show, y'all took the train?
Nah, just come because our main stop was coming to Texas.
Okay.
So, but on the way we had made some stops, and it was just cheaper because we had my brother with us who was road managing us, and then we had his manager at the time, this guy named Tim. So all of us just kind of jumped on the train, and then we stopped in Chicago, stayed there for like a day, did some radio stuff, and then we came here. And then when we first came here, we was in this town called Nacogdoches, right? And it was these drug dealers that kind of booked us for the show. They was kind of like the neighborhood drug dealer dudes. So when they picked us up, they had like a caravan of Blazers and kitted out cars, and you could tell it was like the local rap niggas that sold dope.
Okay.
So they picked us up, and Z had already came out here the year prior on tour, like doing a bunch of spot dates with my DJ at the time, this cat named DJ Drew from Brooklyn. Okay. And when they came back, Drew was like, "Yo, Texas is crazy. Like Texas loves that nigga." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever. All right, okay."
Y'all filmed the video. Tower with the Power was filmed out there, right?
No doubt. But I was so used to us doing shows, I was just thinking this is gonna be some regular, East Coast, because we was always doing shows from the time I was 14, 15, 16. We was doing shows all through the tri-state area. You know what I mean?
All right.
So when he started telling me about Texas, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll see you when I get out there. So we got out there, and soon as we came to that first town, Nacogdoches, them dudes was like, yo, they love y'all out here, son. I'm telling you, they love y'all out here. So we was going to the hotel. We was getting mobbed at the McDonald's. It's like 200 kids pulled us over at the McDonald's. So I'm like, they ain't never seen nobody that looked like us. You know what I mean? I made all these excuses as to why people was bugging out over us, but they really, really loved this nigga's music. Yeah. So we wound up getting to the hotel where the show was at. Was gonna be downstairs. And one of the promoters came up and was like, "Look, one of y'all got to come downstairs because nobody's paying no money until they see one of y'all. They don't believe that y'all are here." And I was like, "Okay." So me and Ja, Z's DJ, went downstairs, and it's like this big glass window that wrapped around the whole building of the hotel. And I mean, it was just like water. I mean, heads, faces from like you couldn't even see how far the faces went out. It's probably a few thousand people outside. And as soon as they see us get off the elevator, everybody just mobbed in and rushed into the door, and there's probably about 4,000 people in this Autobahn room, like in this hotel, and we ripped that shit, and that was like my introduction to Texas. And from there, it just got crazy and crazy. Once we got to Houston, it was just bananas because Nacogdoches is probably about an hour and a half away from the city. Okay. So once we got here though in the city, it was just crazy. From the whole time we was here, that whole 4 months we was here, it was insane.
All right. So what type of thing?